Okay, so explore more of the world
Engage with others.
and embrace global cultures.
Perfect. All right, so welcome to today's Explorers, a series dedicated to sharing the inspiring stories and varying perspectives of those who've chosen to seek out life-changing adventure. On the line, I've got Rebecca and Graham. Hi.
Hey, Charles, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Could you set the scene for us? Where are you in the world, and what can you see, hear?
At the moment, we are in Scotland just now. We are back here just tying up a few things, bits and pieces. We've got a little bit of work that we're doing.
Yeah, so we've just been away for 4 months. So this is our, I guess, kind of base. This is where we're from in Scotland. So we've just come back here. So we're just kind of currently with our parents and using some space there to come and do this and talk to you.
Nice, brilliant.
Yeah.
So kind of a recharge from your most recent venture.
Just topping up the funds, ticking off some boxes and stuff like that, and hopefully kind of getting ready and setting up for something in the future whenever that may be.
Great. Okay, well, we'll get into some of the adventures you've done so far, but
Yeah.
if we could go back in time, could you give a brief description of your upbringing, your background before you started to get into exploration?
Yeah, so I'll go first, I guess. I was brought up on an island off the west coast of Scotland called the Isle of Arran. So it's kind of about an hour west from Glasgow, and then you kind of get a ferry over to the island. So I was quite lucky to have been brought up in such a kind of remote and beautiful place. So I was there, and then I went to art school over in Edinburgh, studied there for 5 years, and then did that classic thing of going and doing a gap year. So a little bit of Asia and then Australia, and came back, kind of dodged around in various different jobs, and met Graham 9 years ago now we met, and then kind of started the serious kind of travel stuff, or more serious travel stuff, bigger stuff, kind of on after we met, I guess. Yeah, so that's me.
I was brought up rural Argyll in Scotland.
Okay.
So used to quite quiet, peace and quiet, this kind of stuff. Then I was a mechanic, had my own business for a while, and now it's just us that are traveling and working
Together.
in between hand.
Yeah, together, yeah.
And what sort of sparked the idea of long-term adventure overland?
Well, when we first met, we kind of had this keen interest, in like vans and camper vans and things like that. Rebecca had spent time in a van. I was being a mechanic. I had an interest in, fixing in anything to do with wheels. So then we bought our own van, and it kind of started from there. We were doing smaller trips, then slightly longer trips, to the point that we were then spending 3-4 months at a time in the van and saying, well, actually, why are we coming back to a house? We don't want to stay in a house anymore. So
every trip just got longer, and we wanted to go further, and I think it just kind of everyone was pushing the boundary a little bit further, to the point that we were coming back to here, and even though we had a house to come back to, we were actually still choosing to stay. We didn't have this truck at that point, but when we had the camper van, we were still choosing to live in the camper van and spend 80% of our time living in the camper van, even though we had a house. And then there was just this moment we were like, why are we still doing this? Yeah, it had been kind of building up smaller trips for a long time, and that's kind of when we made the kind of bigger jump, was when we decided to part ways with our house, I guess, which was 2 years ago.
Was it a house you bought, or were you renting? And then
Graham owned it, and then I moved in when we met, and so it was our home, I guess. But yeah, we owned it and then sold it 2 years ago now. So it's
brilliant. So those funds helped with sort of the travel afterwards.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of inspiration from YouTubers or anything like that got you interested in overlanding, or it just came from other
Yeah,
places?
I think both of us had. I think you've watched quite a lot of different things, various different kind of people doing various different things, like in terms of travel. And I think as a result, I've kind of picked up on that because we tend to watch it together because we spend all of our time together. So I think, like you've always had that interest, and then I've kind of cottoned onto it and then kind of gone, actually, that looks quite good. And yeah, so there's definitely been that influence, I would say, like from your perspective and then kind of passed on to me.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I like to speak to people. I like people to tell
Yeah.
me about things, and I
Yeah.
find that more inspiring than maybe. I like watching stuff online, but when you actually hear it from someone,
Yeah.
it feels very suddenly real
Yeah.
and doable. So I really like that.
And probably often there's the filter of Instagram or YouTube, which makes it all look very pretty, but you
Yeah,
don't
Yeah.
get the full thing.
I think we struggle a little bit with the kind of maybe like a little bit of the dramatization of YouTube, like, the kind of clickbait, like this has happened, it's the end of the road type stuff. Like it almost kind of pushes us in the other direction to like watch something, whereas like people who are like showing you a place and like really like just living their life but kind of doing it, I think that inspires us more. And I guess that's maybe why when you meet people you feel like more inspired because they're actually physically there doing it. But it's great to start people off and to kind of spark that initial like, well, they're doing it so I can do it.
Yeah. And your own social media, do you feel the pressure to share with other people, or do you just kind of...
So we do Instagram, and that's kind of really it. It's like Instagram and Facebook. It started really doing that because I kind of felt like it gave me a little bit of purpose when we were away, like other than, like the travel is obviously the main thing, but it kind of gave me something to connect me to people back here, I guess, like friends and especially family, who like, you can send people photos and things like that, but actually like showing a little bit more of like how you live your life every day was quite, it just kind of helped me like process the fact that we were doing these bigger things and being away for longer, and it's just kind of grown. But I think now that we've got, and I'm not saying we have a lot of followers at all, but like in the scheme of things, but like now that we've got a little bit more and people are obviously interested, which is so nice, I think I'm like keen to keep them interested, but like I don't think I feel like worried about it. I just feel like I kind of want to like provide something. So at the moment it's not like a pressure, it's more just like a want. So yeah,
it's definitely more your thing.
Yeah, good.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not really social media-y, I'm not
Yeah.
bothered about, do people need to see it. But at the same time, it's good, or especially good for you. It's
Yeah.
helped you through a lot of times.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's like obviously with this, there's so many highs, but you do have like it's life at the end of the day. So like, if you are feeling a bit low, and I think it's really important to show that not the like, oh my goodness, like this is like the biggest deal in the whole world, but like, like you want to show people how good it is, and like, but also you need to show people the reality of it. So I tried to, I hope I do an all right job, but I try to keep it quite balanced. I like to think I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And probably with not having so many followers, the pressure also is off a
Yeah.
little bit to just kind
Yeah,
of keep it very
absolutely.
natural.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Graham, you're a mechanic, but are there any other special skills that you bring to your travels?
I can be quite positive in a lot of
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah, you are actually.
Always, glass half full. There's not going to be a problem. It's all going to be fine. Obviously, the mechanic thing, but being able to overcome, let's say, problems, anything that you come up with, I'm quite good at figuring it out or figuring a way out of a situation.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a flapper, so I get a bit like, and like, yeah, you're very level-headed, and like, so I think that kind of really helps in those situations, along with the fact that you are incredibly like good with mechanics problem solving, and then I just kind of stand there and pass the spanners.
So I could be classed as a firefighter because I'm constantly
Yeah,
dampening you down.
yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, it's about balance, right?
Yeah, brilliant. How about you, Rebecca? What other special skills you bring?
I mean, obviously I said I went to art school, so I don't know if there's anything transferable in terms of like having that we can kind of pass into this life. But I'm a very sociable person. I'm a very people orientated person, and I think that in itself can be quite positive in situations where you do have to kind of talk to people that you don't know and kind of go into situations relatively confidently. So like whilst Graham's underneath like dealing with something, I can kind of be like, look, okay, I don't speak your language, or try and figure it out, but I'm quite confident in that respect. So which I think is probably important, not quite as important as keeping the wheels rolling and everything else like that. Yeah, I guess a people skills is good. We'll put it as that. Yeah.
No, I definitely think that's important. Cool. Well, where have you guys explored so far, and kind of maybe a brief background of your adventures?
Yeah. So I think when with like the questions that we were looking at, we like, and we might get into this a little bit later on, but we live between two different things. So we have the truck, which is what we're in just now. We also have a sailboat. So we live between both. So we kind of split our time. The sailing's very much kind of at the moment prioritized to Scotland, the west coast of Scotland. We haven't had it that long, but we've kind of done a lot of like the Western Isles, or like the western coast of Scotland. We've done a little bit of Ireland, which we'd like to do more of in the boat. And then so that's kind of that side of it. And then with the truck, which I would say we probably spend more time in at the moment. We've done previously in camper vans, I guess, because it kind of crosses over, but we've done like lots of Europe, and we've been to Morocco twice. So we were there last year briefly for a month, and then this year we did 3 months. So we were kind of just back from a 4-month trip, but we did Morocco as well. And again, in the camper van before the truck, we were doing a lot of the Scottish Islands. Like we really love like the remoteness and the ruggedness of it all up there. So we spend a lot of time up there before we started going a little bit further afield. Yeah.
Where are you hoping to travel to next? What's the top 3 destinations?
For me, anywhere that's new.
He's easily pleased.
I mean, I'm not too bothered where we go. You know, it's great if we can go somewhere we've not been before, but equally so, you know, to revisit places again is good. So I don't have anything specific, because then if I start my sights on something specific and it doesn't happen, it can get me down.
But I'm a bit more of a planner, so therefore, again, it's about balance. I think thinking about things and like hoping that we can do these trips and stuff, I think in the boat we would like to do a little bit more of Ireland if possible. And then at some point we would really love to take the boat down to maybe like the Eastern Mediterranean, like Greece or Turkey. But in the truck, we would love to, I think we'd love to do more of Africa. We wanted to go a little bit further on the trip we just did, but we kind of just ran out of time, and we were really enjoying the time that we were having in one place, so we didn't want to rush. But there's lots of very inspiring people that we've kind of met or we know that are doing the trip down to South Africa at the moment, and I think that's something that we kind of have got a bit of a pull towards. So I think that would be quite high on the list.
And what brings you back home each time? Is it work commitments or?
It's work, just like finances and having to kind of build up the pot again, I guess. But
previously, the way that it started, we were traveling usually in the winter time to escape the Scottish winter. So it had been, 3 months visa determined to get away from the not nice weather.
And then we were returning to work, which always worked.
It kind of worked out, so we could do 3 months away, we could come back for 3 months, we could work, we could do a bit of sailing, and then you could potentially then go away for another 3 months. But we're kind of hitting the point now where the places we're looking at going are that bit further, and we're in vehicles that are slower, so it takes longer to get there. So to go there for 3 months, or to go on a trip for 3 months and get back in time, it's having to change a little bit. So we might have to look at going away for longer periods and longer distance, which then in turn means more money behind us. So we need to work before we go.
There's a lot of figuring out that goes on, I guess, behind the scenes, but yeah, that's kind of why we've got, and also family, like we have family here, so like obviously, you know, it's all combined, but it's nice to do the work and to see them at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, lots of people have different ways of doing it. I talked to a family from Canada, and they do 6 months on, 6 months off because of work commitments, and they still have their house and things like that. So it's interesting to see those who sort of just like sell everything and just go for as long as possible, or you find you need a home base to come back to recharge.
Yeah, for now, for us, that's kind of how it works.
I mean, home, the base of home is always whatever we're in. So that's anywhere, you know, it's easier. Certainly for the way that I work, it's kind of easier for me to come back here and work with all my tools, with all my stuff that I've got.
It's hard to be a mechanic online.
Yeah.
We're figuring it all out as we go. We're very grateful to be able to have somewhere to come back and do it as well. So it works for us.
That's cool. Where would you recommend people visit some of the places you've traveled through?
It all
You're going to go anywhere.
That's
not defined enough.
You know, everything is enjoyable.
I would say
we've loved Morocco. We really like Morocco.
We really have. Hence why we've been back twice now. Like the first time we went, we just didn't feel we had long enough to we were determined by some other commitments, so we only could do what we did. But having been there now for that period of time, like we just feel so connected to the place. And I think that if anyone wants to like go and explore somewhere that feels like another country,
it's it's a different culture.
It's a different
culture. So you
culture.
can experience that, but there's relative, there's safety, there's always, other people that you can bounce back on if you need a little bit of, let's say, home comfort or reassurance. There's that there as well. So it's very diverse. It's a very diverse country. I think there's a lot in terms of scenery and, everything like that. So and for us in the truck, it's like complete paradise because we just did 3,000 kilometers off road, without seeing tarmac. So if you've got something like this, or, that has the ability to drive off the physical road, it's kind of hard, I think, to beat. But even the same for the motorhome, you could do it in,
absolutely.
You can do it in anything, it's not scary, it's not difficult.
That's one. Also, I think closer to home as well, because some people just don't want to go too far, or they don't, maybe they don't have the chance right now. But also, I've said it before, but the Outer Hebrides, the Scottish Islands, I think the further up you go, the more it becomes a little different world, but it's incredibly beautiful. If you can tolerate the rain, you're fine. And the people they're just so lovely and so welcoming, and that's high on the list as well if you don't have the ability to go too far.
Yeah, no, that's great. Scotland's beautiful. It's a great place.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
You've mentioned a lot now that you're in a truck. Maybe you could give an overview of what your rig is and what modifications you've done. What year it's from.
He's called Waffle.
He's called Waffle.
And he's a 1990 Renault TRM 2000.
Okay.
And that's an ex-military French army truck. He's quite compact. He's only 5.5 meters long, but he's good.
He's compact, but he packs a punch. But compact but capable is a good way to
and slow.
Describe it. Yeah. We actually bought the truck in the Netherlands from a couple they'd lived full time in the truck for 6 years. A previous owner had built it, converted it, and sold it to them, and then we are I guess the third owner in terms of it being livable. But obviously it's had a whole other life before that in the French military. So yeah, we don't go anywhere at any speed. And we're certainly
You don't
not
go
subtle.
unnoticed. No.
Yeah, everywhere we go, we're like, ah. But it's
But
good
he
fun.
has
Yeah.
everything we need.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we're probably in luxury compared to people traveling in, you know, tents, whatever it is. We've coming from motorhomes and things like that. We kind of wanted to maintain and have some of the luxuries, shall we say, that we had before.
As many luxuries as you can get into something that's 5.5 meters long. So
the whole livable space, I think, is 3.5 meters long.
Yeah.
He's dinky in the grand scheme of trucks.
Yeah. But
he's got his own temperament, and
we're referring to him like he's a person,
Yeah.
but I think that's what happens is they
he's
become
very
like
much he's got his own character. You can tell he's French. He can sometimes take a little strop over things, and if he doesn't want to do it, then that's it.
No.
But when he does, you always have a smile on your face with it.
Yeah.
You
even if you break down eventually.
Certainly it's changed the way that we travel. We were very comfortable in a van, in a motorhome, having something different, and not necessarily using his 4-wheel drive capabilities, but just because it's different, you're received so much better by people. People are interested, people are curious, people want to speak to you. It brings so much joy and happiness, not to us, but not just to us, but to everyone else that's out there. So it's good.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah. And do you want to know about the boat, or is it more, are you more interested in the truck?
No, the boat is good too. I didn't realize you had a boat, so yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we just mix it up a bit. The boat is it's a Trident Warrior 40, so it's a 40-foot sailing boat. Technically classed as what they call like a blue water cruiser. So it's again very capable. We like capable, it would seem, but it's kind of made for like long distance passages, so like ocean sailing, which again we're building ourselves up to that. But previous to us, the guy that we got it from had crossed the Atlantic single-handed there and back.
Wow.
So again, very able to do what it needs to do and look after you at the same time. Yeah, so we've got two
very capable vehicles.
Yeah.
We just need to become two very capable people to navigate them.
We're working on that. I think that's development. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, an ocean crossing, to me, that sounds very scary, but
yeah, to me also. Graham, not so much, but I'm like, I don't know if it'll happen for us, but we'll take it in steps. And I think, like with anything we do, you just have to start.
You evolve into it.
You definitely do. Like,
if you've got an adventurous spirit within you, then you naturally want to, evolve more and become.
Yeah. And push
further.
yourself. Like, I think once you become comfortable with one thing that you thought you would never do, you then move on to the next thing that you think is like a challenge, and it eventually just becomes like part of your life, I think, which is like you said, is I guess what happens when you become adventurous, or you have an adventurous spirit and you live in this way.
Yeah,
very, very grateful for them both.
Any tweaks that you made to either vehicle since getting them?
Yeah, so the boat, we upgraded a whole load of the navigational stuff, just so that we can keep an eye on what's happening with the weather or where we want to go to, and just feel more comfortable within that kind of situation. The truck, we did our own sort of, let's say, homely tweaks inside to make it comfortable for us. They're both fairly capable, even just the way they are.
Yeah, and comfortable. It was just more the fact that we I think coming from living in a motorhome, there was just a couple of things that weren't in the truck that we thought, well, actually, we really use that all the time. Like something so simple as like having an oven, and people are like, well, why would you need an oven in there? But
You
when
don't
it's
need
your
an
when
oven,
it's
but
your
when
home,
you're used to it,
yeah,
you kind of want to make the space that you're living in as comfortable as you can and as similar to your previous way
yeah,
of living, so that you're not having to readjust not only the fact that you're doing stuff all the time, but the fact that you've still got comforts
yeah,
to go along with it that you had before.
yeah.
Makes things easier, I think.
We've added some like kind of other things, like we added a winch, you know, just because we thought, well,
just in case, you never know. If it's
yeah,
there, it's there. If it's not, well,
yeah.
you're better off having it, I guess.
And you've kind of obviously looked over things in terms of like the engine and stuff. We're trying to eke a little bit more power out of the engine, because he doesn't have a lot of that, which is fine in the majority of the time, but if we can give ourselves a little bit more. But yeah, it was, like I said, the people before us were in it for so long that they'd kind of figured it all out, and
Yeah.
it was more just making it personal, I think, to us. Is what we've done so far. Yeah.
That's great. As far as equipment goes, like, are there 5 pieces of equipment that you definitely travel with all the time? I'm assuming a mechanical box of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got a nice little box in each vehicle with the tools, just so that I can fix things. And in the truck, that's relatively regularly. So I like to also carry some spares.
Yeah.
Albeit you're never going to carry the spare that you're going to break.
Yeah.
We carry
I guess navigation.
Yeah.
I don't know if that comes down as like something, but and it sounds like something that's really so simple, because everyone's like, well, I use my phone or whatever. But like Graham said, we updated the navigation on the boat so that it's like a kind of digital system rather than having like an inbuilt thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can update it. So a lot of the old kind of chart plotting and things like that is, it's quite, what we had previously was quite dated, whereas this one you can like update it, regularly update, so you kind of have got what you need and the most recent thing all the time. And again, with the truck, that was something we found that when we first got it, we were using just, your phone navigation, but it was giving you a time. And it was so inaccurate because it's logging it on a normal vehicle traveling at a normal speed, and we don't.
Yeah.
Or it's sending you down a road that has got like a height limit or a weight limit.
Oh, wow, yeah.
We went down the route of kind of, and again, it's really something really simple, but just getting an app that we could input all of our specific details so that we knew we weren't going to go over like a bridge that was going to collapse. So that's kind of been, I think, really basic and probably really boring, but has actually been quite crucial to the traveling. I don't know if there's anything.
The boat, I suppose, with the boat we've got an autopilot, which you really want to have, because there can be a lot of times where you can spend a long time just standing steering the boat, and that's a job that the autopilot can do, and it can relieve you to go and do other things. It can allow you to rest, it can allow you to cook, all these things. So that
is important, actually. I think
there's potentially more things in the boat that we've got to make sure that you've got rather than the truck. As long as we've got fuel in the truck and we've got
tea bags
we've got other bits and pieces. We've got recovery gear, but we've not really been in a situation that we've had to use them.
Yeah, the boards, like the sand boards, again, I think it's situational where you are and things like that, but it was more for kind of
peace of mind.
Sounds bad, but helping other people.
Yeah.
Because, like if you see someone at the side of the road, you're not going to leave them.
Yeah.
It was.
We've not given you a very good list of 5 things. We've given you a random list of 2 or 3.
That's all right.
That's us all over.
Any jerry cans for fuel in that?
Yes, we carry. There's 2 extra jerry cans built on, and we've got a 300-litre tank at the minute.
Oh, wow.
I did find myself getting more jerry cans when we were away this time, just because fuel was cheap where we were. And I knew that I had to come back through France where it was expensive, and I thought, right, I'm going to fill up all these cans and bring them back, and
Every little helps.
hopefully
Yeah.
save me a little bit.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
So yeah, there's jerry cans on board. We've got all our water on board. We've got a water filter and stuff like that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of it, it's not essential at all. Sometimes it's just a little bit of peace of mind knowing you've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good practice. The next questions are more reflective. So, what inspires you to explore more?
I actually, and this is maybe a bit like cheesy and cliche, but I actually saw something the other day online. So again, influenced, but it was about like going places that make you feel alive. And I think for me, that is what it's about. It's like feeling like the best version of yourself, and that's genuinely how I feel when we're away traveling. Like I feel like I am like authentically like myself and so happy in that situation, even if it's like I said, there's not always good days, there's bad days, but like that's, and I think if you can find something that makes you feel like truly alive, that's what should drive you to anything, like whether it's travel, whether it's, you know, whatever it is in your life. For us, I think that's what pushes us, is that feeling of just feeling so content with what you're doing and just like wanting to see more and have more of that. And yeah, and meeting people, like there's so many elements, but I think it ultimately comes down to just feeling the way that I feel when we are doing that. I don't know about you, because that's a bit like deep and meaningful.
I suppose other people inspire me to want to go away. You know, hearing what other people have got to say, the thought of, you know, if someone else can do that, then, you know, I can do that, and getting the feeling of achievement by doing it. So,
yeah, you quite like a challenge, I think. I
yeah.
think both of us do, like, you know, and I think you have to be kind of up for a challenge if you do stuff like this. And I think
my normal response, if I'm told I can't do something, I kind of will dig my feet in and use that as an excuse to say, well, if you've told me I can't do it, I'm going to prove you wrong and I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
so,
but in a good way.
In a good,
like,
yeah,
in a good way. I think it's you're very driven and very like motivated by that. I think is like one is challenging yourself, like challenging ourselves.
Yeah,
I would say.
Brilliant. How do you engage with other people?
So I think in terms of other travelers, we've been really lucky that we've kind of met some really incredible people throughout the years, and so had some like mad stories and situations, like meeting other travelers just purely out of chance, I think, like being right place, right time. But I think more so now that we're in
something,
now that we kind of are in the vehicles, I guess, that we are, I think they kind of attract similar people with like a like-mindedness. And obviously it's nice to travel with people that are doing something along the same lines as yourself.
Social media has helped.
Social media has also definitely helped, like
people.
Instagram, like, you know, contacting people. I think we noticed that so much more on the trip that we've just returned from, is that like if there was somebody in the same area as you that saw something online, you know, like they would reach out, or equally we would reach out, and, you know, be more open and kind of like wanting to kind of connect with other travelers. We're also very kind of keen and eager to connect with people that live in places, like, and again, I think nice a lot of that is through chance, you know.
It's nice to speak to local people and, you know, like understand their life, so how they live, and let them talk about it. You know, the one thing that I noticed anyway, is the most people are very proud of everything. They're proud of their life, they're proud of the way they live and everything like that. And it's as important, I think it's more important to listen to the people than it is to go and not preach, but, you know, talk about, you know, what you're doing. It's always good, especially when you're away places, to listen and that makes people so friendly.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, absolutely.
With that, why is it important that we embrace global cultures?
By embracing and understanding, it allows you to grow as a person. It allows you to understand. It just opens your mind to the fact that there is this big world out there, and it is very different. But there is a lot of similarities that you can connect and understand with.
Yeah. I think it's all about being human, isn't it? It's about having that connection with other people and, like just openness to learn about, other cultures, other people, other ways of living, because I think we're all very guilty. And I think that's just the world we live in, of kind of being very in our own like bubble and kind of like that, because that's life, like life's can be so hectic and so full on that it's hard to kind of think of anything out with that. So I think it's, like we really try and engage as much as we can with people that live in places when we're there, because there's just so much to learn from seeing other ways of life, and it just makes you like, it just makes you grow, like you said, as a person, and like kind of.
It's taken us a while as well. The first times that we traveled, we were probably quite shy. We were probably quite nervous,
It just
and
takes time, I think.
it's taken us more time to be more confident. And even now, sometimes we're a little bit reserved when we could be more open, and people are open to
Again, I think
speak.
it's circumstantial. Like if someone's very welcoming of you, like it's easy to kind of be. But it's just, I think even in situations that maybe are a little bit more difficult or more challenging, and especially with languages, it's always a little bit harder when you don't have that communication. There's a lot can be said for like, just being polite and smiling and like being friendly. It goes a long way, but it helps you to grow as a person, and it makes you a lot more aware of what else is going on in the world, which is so important. It's so important.
Great. Have you had any challenges that you've experienced? I'm assuming mechanical is a big one, but
we have regular mechanical challenges.
I think that's been the kind of biggest one, is that we've had a couple of relatively, I was going to say relatively major, but like things that kind of stopped us being able to move. And that was at the start of this trip, literally not long after we'd left the UK. We had an issue with our brakes, and we had to kind of deal with that. Fortunately, we were kind of in the right place at the right time, that we were able to speak to somebody in France who was able to kind of help with the part, because in terms of Graham being able to fix things, like you are very good at that, but if you don't have the right part, like you're kind of stuck sometimes. So that was quite challenging, and I think.
But these are only, let's say the mechanical things are only an issue if you are stuck for time. Realistically, we could break down somewhere and we've got all we need with us. As long as we've got food and water, then the time doesn't really become an issue. So therefore, it's not really that much of an issue. It's just
it's a frustration. I think it's a frustration more than anything. We'd just started, like we were so keen and we were kind of getting ready to go, and we were like really excited, and then things just kind of went a little bit pear-shaped. So it was more just like, and then we had the same happen coming back. We'd just got back from Morocco, and then we were on the motorway outside of Barcelona, and the truck just dropped all of its oil and just went there. So again, we were a bit stuck, but like you said, it's, it is a challenge, and it's probably a little bit frustrating, but it's just part of it, I guess.
You've had some harder times, challenges on the boat. Certainly when you're not maybe as natural a sailor as I am.
No. Graham's been sailing since he was a child, so is kind of very comfortable on the water, and like I love being on the water, but I like being on the water when it's quite like nice and the sun shining, and like it's all going well. And sometimes when it doesn't go so well, it's a little bit, I get a little bit sick, and two, I just get a little bit like, why is it doing this? How do we stop it? And the ability to not be able to step off it takes a little bit of adjusting. But I think after the time that I'm getting there, but it's, yeah, like I said earlier, we seem to like a challenge, so I guess it's good.
Have there been any your most meaningful moment so far? Or maybe you haven't experienced it yet.
It's so hard to define, I think.
For me, I think
We talked about this the other day.
I think for me, the first time that we went away to Europe for our big trip, which was 2 months in the winter time.
Yeah, we did 2 months.
I hadn't travelled. I certainly hadn't driven really outside of the UK. So the first time to actually leave in a vehicle and go away for a length of time that, none of my friends, family would go away for, that felt like a really big step for me. That was a big thing.
And even though it's just Europe, like at the time,
it wasn't about the destination of where you were going. It was
just like,
it was the kind of leaning into, right, like the length of time, the change that you're going to be, you are sufficient within yourself. There's no plan for this time you're away. It's down to you and not really many other factors.
Yeah. I think we did talk about this the other day, and I think, again, it's not hugely like glamorous or like exciting, but we were away for a 3-month trip, and we'd talked about selling the house to the extent that we'd actually put it on the market, but then had taken it off because I had a little bit of a wobble. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I just felt unsure about it, and I just wasn't confident enough to make that jump. And then we went away for a trip, and we were away, and during that time, it just kind of had this like why did I feel that way? And then basically we came back to Scotland, and within the week of being back, we'd relisted the house on the market for sale, because I just had that, like, I just needed to do that to kind of like shake myself back into going, no, that's what you want to do, and just felt so confident in that moment that the decision that we'd thought we were making was right. So like, I guess it's not like a sunset or like anything, like, or climbing a mountain.
Lots of them. There's been lots of sunsets, and there's been stunning sunsets.
But I guess something as like mundane as just having that kind of like light bulb moment of, no, like what we're gonna do is the right thing for us, I guess is quite monumental, like, and has led us to where and what we're doing today. So yeah, it's that.
Leads well into the next one is how has exploration changed you?
I think for me, it's made me a lot more accepting of change. I think I've been quite an anxious person, I think, quite a lot of my life, like even as a child, and I feel a lot less anxious now, because I think we've had to kind of adapt, and I've specifically have had to kind of adapt to the fact that yes, you can make plans, and you can have a goal, and you can have a destination, but you do have to be very kind of acceptant of the fact that something might come in the way, or you may have to change where you're going, or with the sailing, the weather might be against you. Like, there's all of these factors that kind of can lead to it just taking a different direction. And I think that's been a really big thing for me, is kind of just now being quite like okay with that, and it's made me a lot more like free in terms of like what we're doing daily, but also kind of free from that kind of confinement of like, no, I need to know where we're going, when we're going, how we're doing it, because it just doesn't work that way anymore. And I think that's a really good thing, because I just feel a lot better for it, actually. So for me, that's kind of how it's changed me most, I guess.
It's made me probably even more adventurous.
Mm.
The more I do, the more I want to do.
Yeah.
I
think you've always been quite like driven.
Yeah.
And quite adventurous in terms
it's making me more confident.
Yeah.
As well. More confident to speak to people, less nervous to worry about what that person might think if I ask if I can park here, or are they going to be worried if I'm doing this. It's grown me to to not worry so much and go and address it and speak to people, and it's all
Yeah,
it's all better.
definitely, yeah.
You think more positively. You think more. All your thoughts are more happy, rather than
Yeah.
negative thoughts. You get rid of a lot of negativity, which is good.
It takes practice, like anything. Like once you keep
Oh.
doing it, you build your confidence and you're like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And then you're so much
Yeah,
more
definitely.
prepared.
It's like, yeah, you just learn to kind of address it quicker and kind of deal with it. And
In a way, by having no plan and no time, the less time you have to think about it, the better, because then it's the less worrying you do.
Yeah.
So if you decide to do something on a whim that day, then you've not got any time to worry about it.
Yeah.
Of
So
course,
there
you're
you
going to be
go.
happy.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Great. So Explore More has a mantra, which is explore more of the world, engage with others, and embrace global cultures. We've obviously talked about that, but what does that mean to you?
I was thinking about this actually the other night, in the middle of the night, when you wake up and your brain is like, there's something in your brain. And I was thinking about this, and I think it's like connectivity, like connecting with a place, the people, like an experience, like, connection, like we said to you earlier, like this has got a name for us, the truck, like it's alive for us, like it's part of our life. So like it's a connection. And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to, is having that connection with what you're doing, and like why you're doing it is to give you that feeling. So I think yeah, it's not a hugely like in-depth answer, but I think just being connected to what you're doing at the time and why you're doing it. I think, yeah.
Yeah, I
Brilliant.
would agree.
What advice would you give to anyone who's sort of on the fence about setting off on exploration?
Jump off the fence and do it. Don't even look
With
before
caution.
you jump.
No, yeah.
Don't even look down. Just jump off, do it. Don't think about it. If you've got, worries or nerves, or you're worried if other people are doing it, you figure it out when you're away. You'll meet other people, and those worries that you once upon a time had will be long. In fact, you'll laugh at yourself for worrying about those things. So
Yeah, I think just like you have to make bold decisions, and you have to be quite brave in your decision making, because like there's always going to be something that in the back of your head that will hold you back. And I think you have to be prepared to go, well, I have to leave that, or I have to change that. And I think you've got to really want it to do it. So I think, yeah, like you said, you've just got to go for it. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, you just figure something else out. Like it's, you can always change, like just like you would change to doing something like this, you can change to something else. Like it's not the end of the world, and it's not the end of the road. It's just part of, I think just go for it and embrace it and see where you end up. Yeah.
That's great. Great advice. Well, it's been amazing chatting with you and hearing all your answers to my questions. How can people follow your adventures and get inspired more?
So we're on Instagram and Facebook under Far Away, which is FARR.A.way.
Okay.
So we're on there doing the best we can and trying to show people what we do.
Or if you see a big white truck driving along the road and you think, what the heck is that?
In Scotland at the moment.
It could be us. And if there's a big queue of traffic behind, then the likelihood is you're following us already.
Yeah.
That's funny. Brilliant. Well, I look forward to continuing to follow your adventures. And
thanks, Charles. Not at all. It's been an absolute pleasure being on and being involved. And we think what you're doing is really great. So it's lovely to have been asked to contribute to it. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the show. If you want to share feedback, please hit the comments below, or head over to exploremore.com/feedback for more information. If you want to see more interviews and other content, then please hit the subscribe button. Cheers.